We've started this series to demonstrate to farmers how the new farmer feedback report can be used for decision making and to communicate how this farmer feedback report will function to the wider community. The initial reasoning why the letter was started was because when we do an audit on farm with the beef audit or the dairy audit, we collect an awful lot of data. The majority of that data is used to calculate the carbon footprint. However, it can also be used to indicate trends and changes in management on farm level. So we decided to identify what was the most useful data and then relay that back to the farmer and show them how the activities that they do on the farm can influence their carbon footprint and where the sources of their emissions are coming from. Given the current climate that we're in, this will feed back into the climate action plan and the Teagasc marginal abatement cost curve, where we'll identify targets and changes that would be most beneficial to their own carbon footprint. The letter will show where they were at their last audit, where they are at their most recent audit, and how they compare to farms of a similar size. So straight away, the farmers can see 3 different metrics for them, how they've changed and how the changes that they've made over the last audit period have influenced the carbon footprint for them and how they compare to their peers. The different areas that we cover in the letter or the farmer feedback report, this starts with greenhouse gas emissions and the carbon footprint. The greenhouse gas emissions are broken down and they indicate where the sources of the different emissions are coming from. So then the secondary parts of the letter is where we cover nutrient management. This will look at when the farmer is spreading their slurry and what they're spreading it with, and if they're achieving what Teagasc would recommend as 70% in the springtime, and how they've changed that management since the last audit. Another aspect we'll cover is the chemical fertiliser use. We look at how much they're using and feed back a chemical nitrogen application rate, and then the suggestion there is about using something like treated urea instead of can and straight urea to improve that nitrogen emission efficiency. The other areas we cover then are grassland management and soil management. So there's a couple of areas here. We look at the turnout and housing dates of the farmer that he's reported in the audit and look at how that's changed since the last audit, and that will also demonstrate the grazing days of the farmer and the housing days. And they'll be compared to farms of similar size in the similar zones that they're in, and that's defined by the Nitrates Directive, because that really influences when farmers can turn out and house their animals and how long their grazing season is. The other aspects then that we cover is grass-fed criteria that's set out for dairy products at the moment. So we're able to calculate based on the data that's collected from the audit how much grass is in the diet of the animal, and we can show how that diet changes throughout the year based on the concentrate feeding rate. So we'll feed back a graph that shows them when the animal's diet moved from silage to grass and the level of concentrates that were included in that, and map that against the milk production curve of that particular farm. So there's a lot in the letter, and each section will have a dedicated feedback and advice section, and this has been produced in collaboration with advisors from Teagasc in the knowledge transfer programs, so that we're all sending the same messages back to the farmers, and that a lot of the messages will have icons and indicators that indicate where a message is coming from the MAC curve. So that's how the advice and the feedback links back into the climate action plan.